Good afternoon, Mr. David.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mary.
Thank you for meeting with me today. Our meeting today will be to talk about the observation I conducted yesterday in your class, in your science class on the 8 students.
Okay.
Present were also some personal assistants, some nurses, as well as your head assistant. I would like to thank you for being open to this feedback. My goal is for you to grow as a teacher and for our professional relationship to further develop.
Thank you.
All in means of meeting the students' learning objectives. I would like to first start off to say thank you for inviting me to your class. I really enjoyed the class, seeing the energy and the enthusiasm of the students and the staff. It was really great. The students are so eager to learn about what you were going to do and the activities, and I could just see they were excited to learn.
Thank you.
So during our time together, we'll talk about the observation and the information that I collected using the tool that you had selected, and also we'll talk about an action plan collaboratively that we can create so that we meet your needs and that I can also support you with this action plan. So first, how do you think the lesson went?
I think it went well, and I covered almost all the things that I wanted to cover, and I think the students were engaged and staff were very helpful in helping the students get engaged. I think it really went well, not unless you saw something that
No, I saw they were so excited to learn about chemical reactions. It's something that was new to them, but I thought it was great how you defined it to them, but also you used an actual lab experiment, which was really wonderful, and that the students were really engaged and they were responsive, so that was really super. Based on your goals that we established at the pre-conference and the observation tool that you selected, I collected some information during the observation. So I had given it to you after the observation.
Yes.
So I know that you had taken a look at it. And after the lesson, I did provide it to you. So I know last night you took a look at it, and could you we'll just review it. So here are the strategies that I was going to observe during your class. And then here I marked whether you did have that strategy during your class, if it was a yes, no, or not applicable. And then at the end I gave some examples of some of the strategies that you did use. So what does the observation tool results tell you about the strategies that you had used?
I think looking at these, I think I used some good strategies. Like, for example, you saw when I was using materials for experiment, I used materials that the students are familiar with, the common ones that they see at home. Like, for example, when we had experiment, if you look at some of the product that I was using are the ones that they use at home. I wanted to make sure that the students can be able to identify with the products, things that they commonly use.
And I thought that was great that you used things such as soap and cleansers and things that they can identify. Also, I loved how you opened it initially when you had said, what did you have for lunch today? And that had them think about, okay, what did I have for lunch? And then you related that to how the food itself was created using a chemical reaction. I thought that was a super way of doing it. It really had the students engaged.
Yes, and also I think if you remember when I was asking students questions, I allowed them enough time to answer, because I know my students, I know who's who, and I know who to give more time than the others, and you could see that most students were able to answer within that period, and I wanted to make sure that I'm giving them enough wait time to answer the questions.
And I did have that one question about that one student who said, who you had asked a question, and he took a while to come up with an answer, and then you had said, oh, okay, yes. Would you like one of your peers to help you? So, but the reason why you did that was because for that student, sometimes when he's on stage and being focused on, he will freeze up and he will not want to participate in the future.
Yes, I realized there was too much attention to him, so I know him. I know once everybody's focused on him, he shuts down. So at that point, I had to make a decision and say, do you want your peer to help you? That's why you saw I changed it.
Yes,
I realized that at that point, he wasn't thinking anymore, so I said, you know, you want your peer to help you, and that's why I did what I did.
Right, that was a great idea.
Yes. So also, I think you know the other strategy that you know we talked about was the different way of encouraging students. You saw how I was encouraging them even when they didn't get every answer right. Sometimes I found out a way of praising them in a way that is more, you know, encouraging to them. You know, like you saw one of the students was answering a question, but he didn't get it 100%.
Right, I did see that he had said. The answer was soap, and he had named one of the products that you had on the smart board, and I thought that it was great that you didn't say, no, it's not soap, and it's not Dove, it's soap. You had said, no, you got the right answer, it is Dove, Dove is a soap. So that was a great way of encouraging him.
Yes, I think the other ones, the modifying, you know, the lesson according to students' needs. You saw some of the things that I was doing, you know, the strategies that I was using. I modified some of it because you see, like I was using a PowerPoint, and also I was using, you know, pictures and all that because I was, you know, I looked at all my students that I was teaching that day. I looked at each student, like you see, one of the students who was sitting next to you was using a device, so I had to make sure that he participates in his way using his iPad.
That was great, and how he had used his device to say, okay, what step are we on? He kind of kept everybody on track of like what was going on with the instructions.
Yes.
I thought that was great.
Yes.
One suggestion I could make is that I know for those students who are more physically involved, perhaps you can have them use like pouring equipment, adapted pouring equipment, and use a switch so that he'll be able to participate in the activity as well. I think that would be a great idea to use perhaps in the future.
Yes, I know some of students have challenges, especially when it comes to doing some things physically, and I think that's a good idea. Maybe we can get the OTs involved, like the occupational therapist. I think they might be able to help in that, so that you know those students can be able to participate, especially when it comes to, you know, using their hands.
That's a great idea. Any other strategies you wanted to bring up?
I think we talked about positive reinforcement techniques. That goes with encouraging, and
well, yes, you used many positive reinforcement techniques, whether it was verbal praise, giving them a handshake. I noted you did that many times. That was awesome.
I think the other area was integration of grouping according to needs and skills.
Yes, I had noted that you had grouped them by where they were sitting in the classroom. So when they entered, they kind of sat in seats. But something you might want to think about is having them use their, you know, grouping them based on their skills. So perhaps you could have one student work on talking about the instructions, and then another student will be the one actually physically doing the activity, but knowing, you know, what the students' skills are and arranging them, that might help in your future lessons.
Yes, I think that's a good suggestion. You know, I know they were grouped according to where they sit, and that might not have necessarily been the best way of grouping them at that, you know, because they were doing experiment. I think that's a good idea that they can be grouped differently.
And I just did notice also, some of the students were so excited to participate that they would blurt out the answer, and the answers are coming from all over, and then some of the students didn't have enough time to come up with their answer. So my only suggestion would be to perhaps refer them to the classroom rules, so that they have to raise their hand before they give an answer. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, that's right. I remember, you know, at there was a student who just shouted answer twice. I noted that. I noted that.
Right, right.
Yes, no, that's a good suggestion. I noted that. So next time I'll, point to the rules and maybe, talk about the rules first before we start the lesson and say, hey, these are the rules. Yes.
Right.
No, I noted that.
No, that's a great. So perhaps we could just review the action plan of what we had discussed based on the strategies we had gone over.
Okay.
So we had talked about, one of them is that when you're conducting experiments in small groups, to consider the specific needs and skills of the students, so the groups will be arranged at the beginning of the lesson. The second one was coordinating with the OTs to incorporate more adapted equipment into your science experiment so that the more physically involved students can participate.
Okay.
And I'm sure the OTs will be very excited to work with you on that. And then the last one was to enforce the classroom rules of having the students raise their hands if they would like to answer a question during a lesson.
Okay.
So how do you feel about that action plan?
No, I think that is realistic because, like we said, I know I could have grouped those students better, and that is something that I'll look at the next time. And getting in touch with the OTs to see what they can help with, providing us with equipment for adapting, the lesson. And I think that would be good. I think the OTs will be excited to get involved. And the classroom rules, yes, I'll go over that before we start a lesson.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think that's a great action plan, and I look forward to supporting you in any way you need. Also, I wanted to share with you 2 articles that I found that I thought were pretty great. One is 6 ways to stop students from blurting out in the classroom.
Okay.
And the other one is making science labs accessible to students with disabilities, which has some great suggestions of how to adapt science labs.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you find them helpful. Do you have anything else you want to speak about, or do you have any questions?
No, not really. This is a very good suggestion that you have given, and I think they will make lessons better. And I'll read through these articles and see if there's anything that I can use here.
Great, great. And I would like to thank you again for inviting me into your classroom. I really enjoyed my time there, and I look forward to my next visit, and I'll check in with you next week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. David.
Thank you.